Hey everyone, hope you're doing extremely well. I'm excited to bring this video with you to help you become as prepared as possible for what is inevitably going to happen. Now, I just want to start this off by saying this video is not meant to cause panic. It's not meant to make my opinions seem like facts. This is just to kind of walk you guys through exactly what I've been doing over basically the last 2 years, because this has always been known to everyone that it's going to come. You just ultimately don't know when a market crash is going to happen. So just to kind of give you guys an outline on what we're going to talk about in this video, we're going to talk about the widespread illness that's going on, how that does affect the overall economy, not just in the US, but on a global scale, because I think this is a lot bigger than most people realize from an economic perspective. You have companies like Amazon sending their workers home and saying now Amazon Prime, which for like the last 5-6 years has been guaranteed 2-day delivery, is no longer 2-day delivery at this moment. You can't get certain products. I was at my local Walmart last night, and every single aisle for like 6 in a row, both sides of the aisle, so 12 entire shelves all the way down, empty. Not a bag of flour, not a bottle of water. There is nothing in the store. And it's not just because, you know, the market's going to crash. That's more due to this illness, which again we'll talk about, but not even just because people need to be holed up inside like a hurricane. It's just the panic that is being caused by all of this. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about cars. We're going to talk about e-commerce, and we're going to talk about overall opportunity, because keep in mind, more millionaires are created when the market is down. People just go ham if they know how to look for opportunity at snagging good deals, primarily in real estate. So just know that while a recession is, it's a necessary thing, but it can be viewed as a very bad thing, and it definitely has a lot of consequences. It is also something that presents so many opportunities for those who not only can look for it and identify it, but are also in a position to make something happen, to make an opportunity happen. Because at the end of the day, if you haven't been prepared or preparing yourself for it, you're not going to be able to take advantage of something that might come your way, which we'll talk about what that would look like, okay? So for starters, let's get clear on what a market crash is. What does that mean overall? Well, typically it's basically an overall economic decline in spending. So if people are freaking out about something, which I'm sure you're seeing a lot of right now, especially with what the media is saying, well, there's a lot less spending going on. Okay, so now that in turn hurts businesses, and it's almost like the food chain. A shark eats a fish, the fish ate this and that, and it really affects the entire food chain. Same thing with economics, because for an example, the NBA canceled all games. This entire next season is done. It's suspended. I don't think that's ever happened before, but now think about the food chain from a business perspective. The guy who makes his living selling hot dogs at the games can no longer pay for his mortgage, can't pay for food, so like support his family as well, but also, who does he buy the hot dogs from? Who did he buy all the other snacks from? The manufacturers. It is an entire food chain. So you gotta really think about it. I think it's called tricklenomics. Like, where does it trickle down into? It really does affect a lot of things. So essentially, a market crash is going to mean a lot of panic, a lot of people worried, a lot of people not wanting to buy something. So usually, they try to trigger it at something that starts snowballing, right? So people are not spending. And now you see kind of with this illness, people are even more afraid, right? A lot of people are not buying homes. People are backing out of that. Not as many people right now are going to make a decision to go buy some crazy luxury car that they've been wanting to, because at the end of the day, they're scared. There's a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of fright in the air, which is totally justifiable, okay? So I do want to say, from my own perspective and my own opinion here, this is not, I'm not trying to make my opinion seem like a fact. I believe that this market crash will not necessarily happen in the next year. It's going to be something that lasts a lot longer, and it's going to be something that's way bigger than just the US. So we're going to talk about the illness side of this first, because this is what I've been getting bombarded with questions, and I'll keep it short, but I made a video, the last video on the channel is how this specific illness, the coronavirus, if you guys haven't heard about it, impacted e-commerce. So that was the last video. I'll keep you guys updated on how it truly does impact us, but from a store perspective and like buying a bunch of ingredients to basically stay inside of your house, well, one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is people are freaking out. So regardless of a disease, if it kills a bunch of people or not, you might not be able to get certain supplies just because of people's reaction. I went there, and like I said, shelves were cleaned out. I wasn't able to get a case of water. I just wanted one case of water. Literally wasn't able to get that, which is crazy. So personally, what I did, and it's just something I kind of did on an impulse, but I got about 30 days worth of supplies here at my house just in case. And honestly, I viewed it more as a good excuse to now have a lot of stuff at the house, so I don't have to leave the house a lot, so I can work way more. That's just kind of how I see it, but better safe than sorry. At the end of the day, I was at Walmart like 4 days ago and everything was full. So, imagine I'm gonna go back in like 2 days and see if like everything else is empty. It's really interesting to see. So, prepare yourselves, make sure you got a little something and can take care of yourself, your family, or whatever, because the worst thing you want to do is not be prepared. I mean, people are thinking if this goes to a crazy, it's already, by the way, been upgraded from an epidemic to a pandemic, which is a huge difference, but people are thinking that if it really goes on and it's impacting people and nobody can get basic supplies, people are going to start robbing people, looting people. So gun sales have actually gone up the most they ever have, even before the elections when people thought guns might get basically banned. So just protect yourself in every situation. Do whatever you feel is necessary for the situation. That's always what I would recommend, okay? So let's transition over here to the market side of things. We're gonna start with the stock market. If you guys haven't seen what's been going on, some of the biggest red days ever, down huge amounts of points, like 8 to 10% in certain days. And it's been a crazy swing. There's been a lot of news going on. Obviously the stock market does take a crash. It's one of the first things to take a crash inside of a nice recession where it's pulling back, okay? So for me, I'm not huge on stocks. I do own 3 different stocks. For those of you who don't know my background, I used to day trade and do swing trading. I've been doing that for about 8 years now. Not so much in the last 5 years, not at all. So, for me, I've done a few random things. I know people might have seen me post on my story, like exiting a swing trade, made a few grand, just little stuff to have fun when I see opportunity. That's just not where my attention is. But I bought 3 stocks. Now, I'm gonna say the names. I originally thought that I wasn't, just because I don't want people to buy a stock just because I buy a stock. I'm not a stock investor. I am not, that's not exactly my expertise. I'm just buying certain things that I see opportunity in. So again, this is not me trying to persuade you at all. But one of the companies I bought was Tesla, one was Virgin Galactic, and another was a pharmaceutical company that is working on a coronavirus cure, okay? So I'll kind of leave it there. I see a lot of dip buy potential. I know Apple dropped, I believe, below $200 a share, which is insane. You're talking about Apple, one of the top prestigious companies in the world. So there's a lot of opportunity with that. Just do keep your eye on the market, because part of those huge red days are what's causing panics. Now, from a real estate perspective, you guys know over the last 6 months, I bought my first 3 properties. I bought about $1.2 million worth of real estate. These, I have no intention of selling, and when I bought them, I knew I had no intention of selling them anytime near a recession that was gonna happen, and I could hold them forever, okay? So the cool thing is, and I'm super grateful for this, the mortgages for those properties are paid for from my tenants. Now, if a tenant were to leave, like let's say at the end of the lease, which is in like 8 months for one of them, that's the soonest one, let's say it goes vacant and nobody rents it. First of all, it's probably not gonna happen. I can always lower the rent a little bit, but they're in great areas. However, my cash flow, the money that I make, is not just solely off real estate, okay? So at the end of the day, I can pay that mortgage. I'm not worried about it. I'm very liquid, and we'll get into the money side of things shortly. But from a real estate perspective, interest rates are dropping, I believe, below 3%, and they might go even lower. So it's crazy. I first saw this about a month and a half ago. One of my lenders who helped me get a mortgage for a property, he hit me up and said, hey, just an FYI, rates are the lowest they've ever been in a long time. So if you're trying to buy another property, I suggest you do it sometime soon. So that was kind of a little indication for me. When the rates drop a lot, that is a huge indicator that you're going to see a market pullback, especially combining that with all the factors with the stock market and the virus going crazy. You could definitely see some huge impacts from that. So the thing that I'm doing personally, I'm not buying any more real estate right now, but I do plan on doing that in the next 12 to 24 months, because remember, a recession, especially something that will probably be as big as we're about to see, which again, it might not happen right now. The market could bounce back. It might be in 2 years. We don't know, but I'm waiting for opportunity. So here's kind of the piece of liquidity. Now, this is how I've structured my money over the last couple of years, and I've never really talked too much about this. I purposefully tried to deploy as much capital as possible. And what does that mean? That means get rid of it. So it's not in my bank account. I put a healthy amount down on those real estate deals. I bought a lot of vehicles in cash. You know, I bought these in cash. I bought, you know, one of those over there and another that my buddy took out. I bought them in cash when I could have financed them, just because for me, at the end of the day, I'm not going to finance a car. I know people might disagree with that. That's fine. I see them at the end of the day as a fun thing, and I'm never going to take out a loan on something that is fun, because if something goes wrong, I need to be able to get rid of it. Now, not that it's a problem, but these were actually investments, as much as it might not seem like it. Like this GTR here, I've talked about it before in a video. That car, the day I bought it, I could have turned around and sold it for like $5,000 to $7,000 profit, and I still can. But now I've wrapped the vehicle, as you can see. I mean, all the vehicles are wrapped the same. The one I'm in right now, I'm actually about to head to a meeting, but this is actually a write-off. I can write off certain pieces of the vehicle and certain expenses with it. So there are benefits similar to real estate. But you know, I tried to deploy as much capital as possible into that, into inventory around the end of the year for a lot of our e-commerce brands, which actually proved to be the perfect timing, because then you basically come out of Chinese New Year in February, and then the coronavirus stuff is happening where you're struggling to source products. So I was super glad that I did that at the end of last year for a couple of my brands, because it definitely helped, you know, smooth over some issues, at least for the time being. Okay, so that's one of the huge things, but just focus on trying to be as liquid as possible, because we've already seen this before. But whenever there's a panic, I'm not saying a market crash, whenever there's a panic, people tend to try and just like get as secure as possible. So I've seen something, I'll give you an example here. I know a guy, I don't know him too well, but he posted something in a Facebook group, a big car group, about his car that's worth all day long $100,000. He said first cash offer at 80 grand, takes it. He sold it for like 78,000 that same day. So the person who bought it had to be able to act immediately. They're gonna, if they want to keep the car and have fun, go for it. They can keep it for a year or two, never lose a dime, and still make money. Or you could flip it and, you know, go through the process of waiting to sell it and try to sell it for proper market value, and you could make a lot of money. Now, I don't plan on selling any vehicles. I don't plan on selling any real estate anytime soon, especially with the panic going on, just because people are not really spending top dollar. Now, on that same note, if you are someone who's a buyer, whether it's the real estate market or the vehicle market, now is not the time to buy at the top dollar. So I'll give you another example on this. I recently had a deal come across my plate. It was for a single family home, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It was about $370,000, and it already had a tenant in there. So it's actually a real estate investor who owned a lot of houses who was selling it. So it wasn't a normal situation where I'd buy the house and then have to make sure it's all good and then get a tenant in there and do all that. It already has a tenant in there, and get this, with a 1.5 years left on their lease. However, I took a look around the surrounding areas, about 10 miles in every direction, based on similar homes and running all the comps. Their rent was on the very high price on the market for any house of that size. So that real estate investor did a great job, and hopefully he screened the tenant right. There's no real way to double check that, but he got a great rental price. But that doesn't mean that in 3 months, you know, if they vacate or something, let's say they basically just fail to pay and we have to evict them, or even if they ride it out for 1.5 years and let's say we're in the middle of a recession, it's not gonna rent out for what it's at. So that's one thing to watch out for, because do your mortgage calculation. You know, if you're buying it in cash, it's a little different, but make sure your spread, the money between all your expenses, including mortgage, and what you're actually getting for rent, is healthy, because you might have to lower rent at certain points, not by too much, but always keep you know, keep that in the back of your head. Right now is not the time to pay market value for a property, especially if it's something where, you know, there's no tenant in there, or if there's something where it needs a lot of work, even if there is a tenant or not a tenant. This house was in great shape, but I'm not in the position right now where, to me, it makes sense to pay top dollar. It doesn't, because I know in the next 6 to 12 months there's gonna be those deals, there's gonna be those fun deals you see and you come across that will go quick. So that's where you got to be able to strike fast with the opportunity. But, you know, being as liquid as possible, and you can start doing this now. You know, you can start being liquid now. You know, sell a couple of things and just try and save as much money as possible over the next 6 to 12 months. I can almost guarantee that that will do you a very good service, that will serve you well. Now, as the camera is about to die and I've got to head out, I'm like 3 minutes late here, but it's all good. I just want to say, please take all this as an opinion. This is my opinion on the market. You know, it's definitely scary what we're going through. First and foremost, stay healthy. Seriously, like make sure that you have yourself, your family, your loved ones, anyone around you taken care of. Stay healthy, stay positive, make sure you're still having fun. Even with all this crazy stuff going around, get out there, do whatever it is you do, go on the golf course, but make sure you stay safe, have fun. I'm gonna post a couple more videos about this. I've really been struggling to even get one video a week out just with how busy I am right now. As mentioned in November and December, I'm kind of throttling back a lot of the stuff here in March. Our 30-day e-commerce academy, which is the wildly adored e-commerce program. We've produced hundreds of students making 6 and 7 figures over the last year. That's actually coming to a close. It's closing for good at the end of this month in March. So if you want to save 600 bucks and check that out, make sure to reference the links in the description. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and want some more. And with that being said, again, seriously, stay healthy, stay liquid, and stay focused. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.